I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mrs. Kozar. Here. Mr. Laser. Mr. LaCasio.
Here.
Mrs. Mays. Here. Mr. Music.
Here.
Mr. Obardo.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Dr. Zorch. Mr. Hauser.
Here. At this time, I'd like to open the floor up to hearing of visitors where they can comment on this evening's resolution issues. So just if you want to comment on those, you can stand at the podium, give us your name and address, and proceed. Seeing no one, solicitor's report.
This will be an agenda item. This is the approval of a letter of engagement for legal services. This is with Dickey McCamey. It's a law firm in Pittsburgh, and specifically a partner, Alan Torrance, who is a construction attorney. Mr. Torrance will be advising us on any issues should they arise with the conclusion of the new Latrobe Elementary School project.
Alrighty, I neglected to mention that we had an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss legal and personnel issues. Education and planning, Mrs. Maines.
I think we skipped the legislative.
Yeah, may I just
Oh,
review two areas? On the agenda tonight, we are asking the board to approve a resolution to appoint Michael Paremka as the school safety and security coordinator. Most recently in June, when the budget was passed, Act 44 was also passed as part of the school code, and part of this addressed school safety and security. As part of that, there are a list of items that the districts across the state need to do in the upcoming school year, and one of them is to appoint a safety and security officer by August 31st of this month. As you probably are aware, Mr. Paremka has handled this function for the last few years, even though his title is Director of Teaching and Learning. So we are asking that the board approve Mr. Paremka in this role this month, and then he will also be responsible for implementing the remainder of the safety and security items that were passed in the recent Act 44. In addition, just a note, there were numerous things that were approved with the budget, but another one that may be coming out more information is the requirement now that each district test for lead content in their water on an annual basis. I just wanted to note to the board and to the public that the district has been following this procedure for several years, and we have always found our water lead content levels to be within the normal range. We will continue to follow this guideline, and we will update the board and the public as we have these tests done. So those were two things that were included in the school code provisions in the June budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Swearick. I apologize.
Not a problem.
Take 1 month off and everything goes to heck.
Not a problem.
Education planning, Mrs. Maines.
Yes, thank you. The student representatives will be back in September, and Adam Hoffman is returning from last year as one of our representatives, and the other representative will be Chloe Poland. And again, we'll see them on September 11th when they return to school. The enrollment report, Mr. Paremka, are we all ready for the first day?
We're getting there.
Okay.
But the run up to the first day, this last month before school starts is pretty busy. So I ran some numbers today and looked. Jody Brahosky, who is our central registration secretary, said that over the last 20 to 25 days, she's done 72 registrations K to 12. And of particular note, about half of those students that were registered have an IEP 504 or GIEP. Okay. 26 proof of residencies, address changes. You may think that an address change is a simple phone call saying, hey, we've moved from one area to another, but the state requires that we require for auditing purposes, some proof of residency. That's usually a utility bill, so it requires that person to bring it in and meet, and we verify so that those changes are correct. 16 investigations then that came from return mail. So that's me going out and making sure that we're living within the school district because your mail's been returned. And she's filled it 169 messages in 20 days. So it's a busy time, and we look at the enrollment report and we see the bottom line every month, but 72 registrations, and we're talking about 45 minutes to an hour on each one. So it's a busy time. Folks typically wait, and I would bet that when we come back next week, I'd like to share with you the amount that she's just had over the last week. Because as we get closer and closer to school, more people realize school's coming up, so it's time to get my kid in. Now, those aren't all kindergartners. That's K to 12. And in addition to those 72 registrations, she's probably processed, she didn't have that number exactly because a few are still pending, but 30 to 40 withdrawals. So just try to spice up the report for you a little bit this week.
Thank you so much. I bet everyone's excited. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Frank. We have several presentations on the agenda for this evening, and we'll begin with the Latrobe Reality Tour presentation, and then I'll introduce Dr. Robert Jesus.
I will just note that Dr. No, please come up.
I'm
Please
sorry.
come up.
Sorry.
No,
No.
No, I want you to come forward. I just wanted to note that Dr. Jesus has contacted us in June about doing a report about the reality tour, and I think all of us here are at least a little familiar with it and its function, but it's great to welcome you to give us a review and an update of where we're at.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with Mary Ann, who is the head of the reality tour. And during this presentation, we're going to discuss the magnitude of the problem that you have in your own neighborhood. And hopefully through this presentation, you'll be able to help us, because your megaphone is much bigger than ours. We need to get the message out that there is a problem in this community. It's a problem that we have to face, and if we don't face it full on, the magnitude and the scope of this problem is going to be extended beyond our lifetime. So with that in mind, I'd like to give you a brief presentation. Again, I'm a volunteer at the reality tour. I was a practicing physician, a gastroenterologist studying liver disease, gastrointestinal disorders, so I have a full knowledge of the consequences of cirrhosis of the liver from alcohol abuse. There was, yes, the drug crisis that I saw in our hospitals, and so I became involved because I need to do something. I retired 2 years from private practice after 38 years, and I said, you know what, Bob, you got to do something to make an impact in your community and in the lives of other people. So with that in mind, our agenda will be the introduction of the reality tour, statistics both nationwide as well as local, your own district. And you'll be surprised at the number of drug overdose deaths that you've had in the Latrobe area, as well as surrounding areas of Erie, New Alec, and Mount Pleasant. We will try to, again, solicit your help. Again, we need your help to reach the community, to reach your students, because they're the vulnerable ones. They're the ones that lack the knowledge of what's going on out here. We're the adults. We should educate them not only academically, but also in the drug crisis that we have. Now, they call it the opioid crisis. I think that's a political correct term. I think it's called the illegal drug usage, the illegal drug dispensing, which can happen anywhere. It happened in our own hospital. As a matter of fact, it was a physician who in the staircase would prescribe pain medications, and he was arrested. There was a young lady in the intensive care unit. While she was being cared in the intensive care unit, she sold heroin, and she was quickly arrested. So it's very pervasive. You're not immune. If you think you're immune from this problem, then you're deluding yourself. Finally, we have a conclusion, hopefully, with your help. And again, we need your help. Now, can I have the lights down on the front, please? Now, this is a summation of my presentation. Okay, what you see here, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You have your white, non-Hispanic, non-African American individual who's probably in high school, maybe 17, 18 years old, who began the drug usage by, again, taking pain medications from her mother or father's medicine cabinet. After 2 or 3 years, she graduated into hardcore drugs, both fentanyl, which is causing the #1 death in this area, as well as the heroin abuse. And I'll show you in graphic form the rise in those hardcore drugs compared to that of the typical, whatever we think about Oxycontin and the other synthetic or non-synthetic opioids. Most of my data is obtained from the CDC. This is public knowledge. There's nothing made up. You can reach this on your computer hard drive and realize the statistics that are coming out. Slide is not good. Okay. One of the things that we have to discuss, in addition to the illegal drug usage, is alcohol abuse. And it is very pervasive. And unfortunately, you cannot see in this graph, but alcohol abuse starts at the age of 12 years old, which is what, 7th grade? So the thing is, at this bottom of the line, over 500,000 children between 12 and 17 years old are hardcore alcoholics. By that I mean they consume alcohol every day. The youngest individual that I had in my practice was 24 years old, had cirrhosis of the liver. I had warned him repeatedly, please stop drinking. And of course there was also adults as well that abused alcohol. Some listened, some didn't listen. And unfortunately the final sequelae was that they died either from liver failure, massive bleeding from what we call varicose veins of the esophagus, to renal failure. But again, the alcohol epidemic is here as well. Although it doesn't attach or doesn't attract the headlines that we see in the newspapers or in the media, nevertheless it is very pervasive and it has a long-term sequelae. Now, one of the things that grabbed my attention and why I thought that we should become more involved, including myself, was that this is again statistics from the CDC that in 2016, over 64,000 individuals across the country died from drug overdose. 64,000. So that means you could fill Heinz Field, okay? And for those who remember the Vietnam era, 58,000 American soldiers died in Vietnam throughout the years of conflict. So in 1 year, 64,000 individuals from all age groups, okay, died from drug overdose. And this includes perhaps the most potent one is fentanyl, because as we know right now, it's the illegal trade. As a matter of fact, I was reading in the newspaper that this individual was arrested because he was importing it from China. So you can make it in the lab at home as well as importation. It's a huge, huge problem. Now, this graph shows that the dispensing of the opioids, by that I mean the Oxycontin, all those pain medications that we see, whenever we have surgery, a physician prescribes it. There's a downward trend in prescribing. Why? Because physicians are becoming more knowledgeable of the adverse effects of consuming drugs over a long period of time. Number two, there are now state laws that you have to mandate. Drugstores have to report, as well as physicians have to report to a central agency in Pennsylvania which drugs they prescribe, because hopefully what has occurred in the past is that patients doctor shop. In other words, they come to me and say, Doc, I got this severe pain in my belly, I need pain medication. That's the first tip-off, that they want pain medication. At that point, you have to say, you know what, I think we better investigate why you're having pain before we give you any pain medication. And before you know, the individual leaves because they know that, I will not give them any pain medication. And that's why more and more physicians are decreasing their exposure to pain medications. They're referring these individuals to what we call pain specialists that can manage these individuals more appropriately. This graph is a little bit hard to see, but the thing is that the number two causes of death, heroin and fentanyl. Okay? And that's because perhaps the acquisition of pain medications like the tranquilizers and the Oxycontins are becoming a little bit more prohibitive, and therefore people resort or graduate to a more potent illegal drug. Now, let me personal experience as a patient in the office in the hospital that I looked at their chart and they had a drug screen, and it was positive for multiple medications, or no, multiple drugs, let's call it. And I asked him, you know what? You have a lot of drugs in your system. How do you get these drugs? He says, Doctor, it's so easy. What he did was he would go down the corner purchase X amount of dollars of the pain medications, split it in half for him and half for his clientele. And that's how easy it is to to acquire this medication. But again, what's happening right now, that more people are dying from heroin as well as the fentanyl family. Now, unfortunately, this graph we cannot see, but what I wanted to show was that the age of starting medications is 12 years old. And this is from the CDC. I would like you to read the data for yourself. 12 years old. In other words, 7th grade, you have your people little children taking pain medications, taking tranquilizers, and starting on cocaine and heroin abuse at 12 years old. And the numbers increase by the hundreds and thousandfold by the time they're 17 years old to 18 years old. It's a big problem. Now, unfortunately, this graph shows about the emergency room visits. By that I mean that if you have overdosed, the ambulance comes, brings you to the hospital, resuscitates you, and what happens is that either you walk out because you're not arrested. As a matter of fact, you're not arrested. If you are there medically, the police cannot arrest you. So therefore, you have utilized the services of the ambulance, the ER, as well as perhaps being hospitalized. Why? Because maybe you have some other medical issues. Now, some of these individuals have insurance, some do not. And what happens is that the hospitals have to eat this up. It's what we call uncompensated care. So what does the hospital do? Unfortunately, the hospital has to survive. So economically, what they do is they cost shift. They shift the cost to other individuals. In other words, they shift it to insurance companies that pay, private individuals. So in other words, just like automobile insurance, you're bearing the cost of uninsured motorists. Now, let's take that a little bit step further. Let's talk about the school district and all that. Your finances are what? Tax-based, right? Either by property taxes or by personal taxes. So those individuals, and I'm not sure how many individuals are in this community that unfortunately are not gainfully employed, do not have a family, okay, do not have property. So what happens? If these individuals are a little bit more extensive, you cannot collect property taxes, you cannot collect employment taxes because these people cannot pass an employment physical because of the drug screen. So what happens is your tax base decreases, and what do? You do the same thing as the hospitals. You shift costs to people that can pay, and therefore you probably increase the millage of your property taxes. It's the same thing. And I'm not being mean and trying to discuss the economics, but it is a reality of life. We have the social aspects, the tearing of the human family, the tearing of the fabric of the individual, but also you have to look at the economic side, the impact that it has both on the community as well as you on the school board. This graph, the purple, and you can see again the clear definition, that Pennsylvania ranks up there in the highest drug overdose in the United States, by far. You have Ohio, West Virginia, and surprisingly, Texas is not high. You would think that all the drugs being smuggled in would have more drug overdoses, more deaths there, but no, it's in Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. Now, we have to think, what happens to an individual that takes the path less traveled by? And so you have to look wondering, what is the psyche, the reason why some individuals become straight students and some students follow that path of destruction. And recent reports are coming out that those individuals with what we call adverse childhood experiences, and you all know that, whether it's child abuse verbally, physically, community violence, lack of family integrity and all that, these factors compiled together may lead to another individual in substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or whether it's hardcore drugs. This other study was made, and it followed, I believe it was over 1 million individuals, adolescents, that were given pain medications. And they found out that those individuals with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, are more prone to continue drug usage. So the question is whether we have these individuals in our midst that we could target and say, you know what, we should perhaps do something to guide this individual a little bit more appropriately. Now, of course, it takes a community it takes a village to raise an individual and all that. And certainly the family life is very important, and it's a very difficult task and all that. Now, but again, these two things, the adverse childhood experiences as well as mental health issues, are making individuals more prone for substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or hardcore drugs. Oops, is that the end of this? Did I poo-poo it? Now, I gave a handout to Darlene to perhaps, I only had about 5 of them, but Marianne will be speaking in a moment about outreach. We need your help to outreach these individuals. We can't do it ourselves. Marianne will talk about the statistics of our reality tour, how it's dropping down in attendance. So we're trying to create this interest, trying to create this agenda that we could, reach these people. So what we have decided to do is we proposed what we call MailChimp, to mail out to those people that previously attended the reality tour to say, hey, we have another reality tour, come on down, bring your family, bring your friends. So hopefully you as the board can help us to improve our outreach to these individuals in whatever capacity. Perhaps attaching this newsletter to your website, perhaps requesting that you come to our meetings, students come to our meetings, or encourage them to come to our meetings. But we need your help. We can't do it ourselves. So with that in mind, I'll give that floor over to Marianne. Thank you.
I need that. Thank you.
I'm going to talk a little bit more. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Our charts are really hard to see. I apologize for that. These are our statistics. I got to get close here. These are the deaths over, let me grab my paper. Here, give you correct information. These are the deaths starting from 2002 to current. 2002, we had 22. 2017, this is Westmoreland County only. 2017, we had 193. This year, we've had 56 confirmed, 17 pending. It looks like it's going to come in a lower year. I've talked to the coroner's office. They have told me that they believe it's from the Narcan, the naloxone is bringing people back and saving lives. They also think that it's because a law has passed that if you are selling illegal drugs to someone and they die, there's a good chance you're going to go to jail for life. So they think that's part of the issue. The other thing I want to explain too on this, the numbers that you see here, these are only people who have passed in Westmoreland County. So if you live in Westmoreland County and you're on the border of Westmoreland and Allegheny when something happens to you and they transport you to Allegheny County, you are not in our numbers. You're in Allegheny County's numbers. So these numbers could be much, much higher. This is the one that is going to tell you right now, as of August 1st of 2018, the city of Latrobe, along with Jeanette and the city of Arnold, are tied for the highest number of overdoses this year, and that's 6 each. Unity Township has had 2 so far this year. They're doing much better, much bigger area, but the city is not doing well at all. Whoops, I'm sorry. All I did was push them. These are the statistics, again, as of August 1st. And this is to tell you the age range. And actually, right now, the highest age range that we are losing people to overdoses is 31 to 40. And right now, we have lost 15 men and 4 women in that age group. Our younger ages of 21 to 30, there's been 6 males and 3 females. This is very discouraging to me. This is the statistics just from the Latrobe School District. When we started, the first year was 2014 to 15. We had great attendance. Let me give you the numbers. we had 101 adults and 80 children. So we had almost 200 people come through the tour. Last year, we had 29 from Latrobe School District. To me, first off, this is my school. This is where I was raised. This is where I was born. You know, I went through my school years here. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that parents don't feel this is something important. We're trying to educate the parents, educate the kids. We don't want to see anybody else lose their lives. Some of you know, I know some of you on the school board, I lost my son 12 years ago to a heroin overdose. No parent should have to go through this. It is the most horrible experience you could ever live through. If I can save one child by doing this, I've reached my goal. And that's what I'm trying to do, but we need your help to get these numbers up. We really need to get the parents in here. Unfortunately, as parents, lots of times we're dumb. I was very dumb. We don't know what these kids are doing. We don't know, even sometimes when we see the paraphernalia, what it is. We think it's other things, and we overlook it. They know so much more than us. We need to get on board. We're in the works of improving our tour right now. We're trying to make the presentation more audience-focused so that we can pull more people and get them more interested in coming to the tour. We're trying to reduce the length of the presentation. That's the big issue that we have. A lot of people tell us it's too long. Kids have school the next day. They have homework to do. They can't get everything in. We're trying to make we go through the life of an addict. So we're trying to make our scenes more dramatic and more realistic. We've had issues in the past with having a narcotics officer there or a recovering addict to speak. We're working on fixing those issues. And as Bob said, we have MailChimp now that we're going to have newsletters going out and different things like that. This is where we need your help. We need help bringing awareness to the parents. We need to get the families in together. Our program is geared from children 10 and up to attend with their parent or guardian so that everyone hears the same story. We don't want mom and dad to be out there somewhere, and I'm going to give you the example of Molly. Kids were running around, I'm going with Molly tonight, we're going to have a good time. Parents thought they were going to meet another kid from school. It wasn't. It's a drug. We need more of a presence at the open houses, the student orientations, anything that you can give us an into where we could get up and talk to the parents. Sixth grade camp, I thought might be a good place to start. There is a reality tour grant. There's actually 2 of them that the school district is entitled to every year. And what you're entitled to is, one will give you the ability to purchase, and I know this is a really big one, 200 t-shirts to give out. All it will cost you is the shipping on them. I know we have more than 200 children in any grade level. So that one's a little bit hard, but they've also came out, if you can't do that one, we have I Promise bracelets. You can get 1,000 of these. The paperwork, the grants are practically filled out for you. You just have to fill in some information. I can even get you, you need reference letters or something similar to that. I can even get you those to put in there. I would appreciate, like, if you guys would do this. This is a good thing to work with Red Ribbon Week, and it will keep it in the children's heads. If we could give the youth maybe an incentive to participate, maybe something as small as, hey, we'll give you 5 extra points in a class if you come to the tour. It's easy for them to prove they've been there. We do a morphing picture. They can bring the picture in. There is a school district in Westmoreland County, and it's Bell Vernon, where they have made it mandatory for health class for their junior high students to attend reality tour. I don't know if that's a possibility here or if something similar, or if we could work on something, to make it more appealing, something that the parents become responsible to get the kids there. That's all I have. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll certainly take those suggestions and talk to our administrators.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that information.
Our next presentation will discuss the 6th grade camp, and I'll introduce Mrs. Melissa Borio.
I asked Mrs. Borio to come and do, no, she doesn't. She doesn't need the screen, I'm sorry. I'm jumping around. I did ask Mrs. Borio to come in and give her annual update on 6th grade camp, just to let you know about the number of students that went, any new programs, and a look to the future. So.
Thank you. Good evening, and that's been tough to follow. It's very scary. I would like to open my remarks by thanking some people here. First, I definitely want to thank the school board for continuing to support 6th grade camp. It's such an important part of our students' experience, and I'm sure some of you have the experience that I have often, where people will come up to me and tell me how much fun their kids had and what activities they liked, and different things that really stuck with them about camp and how they want to be counselors when they get to be in high school. So I really appreciate the school board's support on that. I want to thank Mr. Music for, again, coming up and co-teaching at the rifle station. It gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that we have someone there along with Josh Bowser, who is a certified rifle instructor and is there for the students' safety. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And one of the days that he was there, his son David came up with this really cool drone with a camera attached to it and drove it all around camp and got some fabulous photos and video. So I apologize for not having that, but as I said, it didn't all make it into my Google Drive transition, so I'll get that next year. Thank you, Mr. Mears and the athletic department for their donation to help us keep updating our walkie-talkies and purchase some new walkie-talkies. And thanks, Mrs. Kozart, for coming up for a visit. Mrs. Kozart came up and got to see a lot of our different activities up there and had some very positive and supportive remarks that really meant a lot. The 6th graders this year, we had a total of 256 students attend. Not every student from every building attended this year. Sometimes we have 100%. We did not have 100% from every building this year. We had 69 students from Bagley. We had 89 from LES and 98 from Mountain View. And I was very fortunate to have approximately 30 teachers, which with each of the sessions, that doesn't mean 90 teachers because some of them are there at a particular station activity for the entire time. But it's really nice now that we're starting to get a representation of students from all, or teachers from all 5 of the buildings. It's nice for our students to meet some of the junior and senior high school teachers and get to know them before they're ready to move up. We have a lot of the same activities: language, arts, science, math, social studies, and then we always have the students have a lot of fun with art, music, and the phys ed activities. We had so much success 2 years ago with our first board game night, which is the night we get the students back into the cabins a little earlier, which the teachers have been asking for. A lot of students don't have the opportunity at home to play board games, sit down with their families. And there's so many social, emotional, educational benefits to that. And the teachers and the counselors have been excited about the board games too. So it's been something that we want to continue and probably add a few more this year. We also continue to use our Fun Wreck This Journal book, which I thought I had one in my house, but I have them all in the camp storage. It's a paperback book, and every page tells the students, suggests to the students some way that they can stomp it in the mud, shoot it at the rifle range, drop it in the stream, all kinds of fun things that they really enjoy doing. So that is a small expense for the amount of creativity and enjoyment they get out of that. Our really, really new activity this year was our outdoor cooking station. And this was something that had been brought up a few times. And then in one of our flex shops, Abigail Wilson-Mahalik, the FACS teacher from the junior high, wrote up a really nice lesson plan for us. So we went out, we bought some mountain pie makers and got in touch with our ranger liaison up at the camp, and he said, oh yeah, we have a special place, we do outdoor cooking, and it has a covered, patio kind of area. So we gave it a try, and everybody loved it. Teachers, counselors, students all loved it. I did ask them to give me a real specific price breakdown of everything that we used from the camp, and for 3 schools, I thought it was really, really reasonable, but I'm still going to check and see if it might be better for me to get some of those things and bring them up. I'm just a little concerned, not so much about hauling charcoal, but hauling a bunch of lighter fluid. I'm not really looking forward to that, so maybe I'll keep getting that from them. We did the kind of pepperoni pizza type mountain pies with the cheese and the sauce. The kids really loved it. Our capstone students, under the direction of Mrs. Macy Logan, I must say Kozar, did a fabulous job. They're so knowledgeable, and I asked Macy to, because a lot of the students applied to be counselors, and I said, you let me know who you think will be the best ones, because there will be times, Miss Logan was there with Bagley the entire time, but Mrs. Durgon came up for the first day of LES and the first day of Mountain View. And other than that, it would have been much like the past, where the teachers who had the groups took them to the stream and hopefully had enough information, whether or not they were science teachers, to do a great job on that. But having those students there from the capstone program, the teachers were so thankful and they loved it, and they gave me so many compliments that I passed on to Mrs. Logan and Mrs. Durban. They did a wonderful job. With the addition of the capstone counselors and the outdoor cooking counselors, we did have an increase in our counselors this year. We had 67 high school counselors this year. My final note is I ran into Dr. Leonard this summer at the funeral home for Donna Holzapfel's husband, and he mentioned how happy he was that 6th grade camp is still something that we provide for our students. And he said, I heard through the grapevine that there have been some changes to camp, and I thought, oh no, because he was one of the originators for camp, and he said, I'm so glad because some things needed to be changed, and if you're not moving forward, you're pretty much going backwards. So that made me feel like we were making some good progress and good changes with 6th grade camp. So I thank you for your time and your continued support for camp. And does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I have a question, Melissa. You said, because I'm looking at the enrollment report for 6th grade for next year, I presume.
Okay.
And you said not all the kids are going to camp. All the 6th graders going to camp. Is that because they can't afford it?
No, we actually have a scholarship program for any students that cannot afford to go. We always cover that, and we actually reach out to the parents and let them know that. So they are aware that we
That was my
can
only
provide
concern,
for
that we
them.
should- that we
There
were
are
raising.
there are other reasons students
Okay,
elect
that's fine.
not to go, or parents elect to hold them back for different
Okay.
reasons.
The cost has never been an issue, at least in the last 10 years or so since we built up some scholarship funding. 269, did you say 269?
256
I'm
this
sorry.
year.
Okay, so 256, and
Just
I'm
to-
looking at the enrollment report, we have 285 enrolled, so 29 kids.
29.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And again, Melissa, there's not a physical disability that we haven't accommodated
Right,
when
right.
needed, so that's not a reason to not go.
Yeah.
It's
I was
basi-
just
yeah.
concerned
Yeah.
that,
Why
because
they're not
in the past, I mean, since I've been on the board, other than Sue, I'm one of the older ones on this board, and since we've been on the board, in the past, there were monetary reasons kids couldn't go. It was only a while ago that we started building up a kind of an endowment of a fund to support those students. And I just wanted to make sure that that was still in place, and that that was still.
It is, thank you. And for as long as I've been involved, I have known that that's
Okay.
something we will take care of. I didn't know that it was any different prior to that. So I'm glad that we do that.
I want to compliment Melissa. She does spend a lot of time, effort, dedication, blood, sweat, and tears putting time in as camp director. You completed this your third year as camp director, or fourth?
Fourth.
But I don't think there's any less stress on her doing it. She's constantly looking for ways to improve camp, listening to feedback from teachers, counselors, parents, principals, etc., and is willing to make the changes that we need to make camp a sustainable item and one that continues to meet that capstone experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you too.
Thank you
For
very
your
much.
dedication.
Thank you.
I see what you do every day. And I also see what it means to the kids that are there.
It's
It
so
means a lot to
important. Even the students that, they do archery or they go, shooting with their families or, it's different to be there with your group of friends and just enjoy that bonding experience together. I think it's really special.
And I have to tell you, I was speaking to someone this weekend who did not grow up in this area. She grew up, as she said, down the road from where Tiger Woods lives, in Florida. And she said, but she's staying in Latrobe because her daughter is here and is going to 6th grade. And she said to me, she hasn't gotten a notice about camp yet. Is it going to be okay? It was her big concern because she was a 6th grade, rising 6th grade student. So it's the end of the year. It's okay. You got time, So I thought that was interesting. That somebody who wasn't aware of what we do here, she knew about 6th grade.
I didn't grow up here either, so
Yeah.
I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
43rd.
Yeah.
I think this is the 43rd one.
I believe this was the
1975.
43rd. Yeah.
First class. I'm showing my age now.
What year did it start?
1975.
Don't talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On your agenda then next week will be a resolution to approve the 6th grade camp program and dates as listed on your agenda for May of 2019. We have another presentation for Bagley Elementary School called Girls on the Run, and it will be done by Mrs. Stewart. Oh, it's for next week, I'm sorry. I have to say that. Oh, yes. I thought the run was going to take place.
Yeah, me too.
It will take off.
Okay. And Dr. Pepper for an opening day report.
That will be next week as well. We're going to give our professional development day. We have a lot going on.
Okay, thank you. On your agenda next week will be a resolution to authorize administration to seek bids for the purchase or lease of one driver's education vehicle. Okay, and also an agenda item for next week will be to authorize the administration to seek bids for the purchase of a baby grand piano. When I saw the name of that school, I didn't realize what it was, but it was NHS in the past, and it now changed to Marikey. It's a Greensburg school, and it's for the purpose of autistics and autistic students. So there will be a resolution to approve the agreement with Marquis School. There will also be a resolution to approve the Presley Ridge Day School of Greensburg, the ESY agreement, and this is all stuff we do pretty much every year. Also approve addendum number 1 to the contractual agreement between Presley Ridge, Greensburg, and Greater Latrobe School District for the 2018-2019 school year. That attachment didn't open for me. Does anyone want to clarify what that is? Anybody know?
Extended school year?
I can speak to that. It is just solidifying their cost for the current school year. Nothing else in the contract changes. It was adjusted slightly. We only have 2 students in the program right now.
Just 2 students? Okay, thank you. Also, a resolution to approve the Dr. Robert Ketterer Charter School agreement for the 2018-19 school year, and also to approve the St. Vincent College Prevention Project's 2018-19 service delivery agreement. Also, to approve the Pennsylvania Educators Clearinghouse contract of service for the 2018-19 school year. And to approve the agreement with St. Francis University. It's a cooperative agreement for college and high school for 2018-19 school year. And we have another tuition student for next year. He is listed from Ligonier Valley School District. The curriculum committee meeting that was held on June 19th, the minutes are attached. Please read them. If you have any questions or comments, let us know. The next curriculum committee meeting will be on Tuesday, September the 18th, 5:30 here in the CSC.
Thank you, Ms. May. Finance, on the agenda for next week for your approval will be the treasurer's report, payment of bills, tax exonerations, approve the 2017-18 year-end budget transfers, approve gifts, grants, and donations, one being the Omaha B-22 upright model piano. Grant presentation on September 18, 2018. Mrs. Golden. Our next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, September 11th at 5 p.m. here at the Senior High School Library. Facilities Operation and Planning. There's an attachment on the Latrobe Elementary School update presentation by George Dickerson, the Foreman Group.
I just handed my paper to see if we wanted to. We're having some trouble with the visual aids.
The projector is bad,
Oh,
but
there you go.
I didn't have time, but I can.
That's quite all right.
The images are going to be a little poor, I apologize, but they do have some slides.
Okay.
Yeah, I can give him one. Here, I can. That works. Well, good evening. I'm here to report on the elementary school, as I've done several times before with you. We're making some good progress. It's not the progress that you wanted. We're not going to be in this semester right now, so I don't know what the actual time frame or what we're going to do. We've got a schedule that we've been working on with the contractors to try and get them to increase the production, and we're making some really good progress. But 6 yards of concrete between raindrops doesn't get you going very fast on the site work. So we've been struggling with that, that's for sure. If the camera's just a little blurry tonight, but you get the idea if you've been by there in the last few weeks. We've got a tremendous amount of work done on the exterior of the building. All the sunshades are up now. The roofing is finishing up this week. Masonry is just about finished. We're doing some courtyard planters for the classrooms that are exterior classrooms, and we're getting those built now. And like I say, we're pouring concrete every chance we get, 7 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow morning it's going to be 6:30. There's a window there where we're going to be able to get some concrete poured, and then we have to cover it up with plastic after we get it placed because the raindrops will tear it up, as you can imagine. So we're going to be doing that for the next few weeks, trying to get in between raindrops and have some asphalt down there before the end of the month. The interior of the building, we've got some, and you're welcome to change that if you want to. We'll see if anything else comes up. There's one of the views of the admin area, the main entrance off of Cedar Street. Another view of the top is the bus loop on the Ligonier Street side, as you probably well can imagine. If the colors were good, you could see the terrazzo in the middle picture. We've got one corridor that's nearing completion on the terrazzo. In fact, I showed Judy an updated picture since this report was made of the colors actually coming out now. When you put it down, it's a very bland look. But once you start doing all the finish process, all the colors take shape. So you can see some beautiful oranges and stuff in the next month's report. Okay? And we'll continue into finish painting. We're down to our last areas of painting. We've got the kitchen is just about 100% complete. Next week it'll be ready for a health department inspection. It could be ready for the health department inspection by then. The music rooms in the middle picture, I think that is a picture of the piano keys that act as walls, acoustic sound prevention, and it's beautiful. It is really a clever idea.
Those are the pianos.
There are your piano keys. Good.
They're very cool.
And up in the top right is a courtyard that I was talking about. We're building landscaping features out there that act as seating, so that if the teacher wants to, they can go outside with a class and assemble them and have a central location where they can stand and teach the children. And it's a beautiful courtyard. It'll be exposed aggregate concrete. It will have stone and masonry planters for people to sit on. It's a really pretty feature. You can see the sunscreens on the windows on the right side. I can't quite make out the bottom left picture, but we'll go to another one and see if we can make it up. Okay, pictures of doors and stuff that are going in. Pictures of the kitchen, I think, is on the bottom right. Finish ends of the east side of the building. So a lot of things are coming together. 27th, we're expecting the rubber flooring to begin in the building, and the contractor is going to hit that rather aggressively, try and get us moving on that. And what else do we have up there? Submittals. We're still receiving one or two here or there, some last-minute substitution things, which Hank is getting approved and turned around, or rejected and turned around pretty quickly. And then the RFIs, we still get a few of those every now and then, but it's mostly just quantifying or qualifying the products that we're going to be using. And
or asking a question that they asked almost a year ago and forgot that they asked it.
Yeah, we get that. We get that a lot. Okay, next. And that's the RFIs we were just talking about. Another. This one's an interesting chart. We were talking about weather and relative humidity and things like that. This chart represents the relative humidity and the temperatures in the building from sometime in April until last week at the end of
Which
August.
is which, George? Yellow
The
is,
black is the temperature,
yellow is humidity.
and the orange color is the relative humidity. So you can see we had a real problem getting the relative humidity under control, which affects a lot of things like finishes. Finishes weren't drying as fast as they needed to. That kind of thing was really hampering us a little bit. So the district got that under control, and you can see now for the past 4 weeks, everything is back into shape. It's like a 72 temperature and a 40% humidity. Just something that we track to keep up with, what the progress is and reasons why things happen. Next, project financials report. If you could see that, it would show you that until this meeting, the district is still $75,000 ahead on the contract. We've got minus $75,000 in change orders. We're going to present a few tonight to clear up a couple items that finally have come to a head, and we're going to be at about $15,000 to $18,000 in the black. So we're finally at 0.01% on change orders for the project, and we're at about 95% of the expenditure, 90% of the expenditure.
Pretty incredible.
Pardon me?
Pretty incredible.
It's pretty good. We got people are starting to work together better and better all the time out there, and that's what it's going to take for us to get you into your building as soon as possible. Anything else up there? Do I have any more pictures? Oh, thank you. Anybody with any questions that I can answer up here? Be glad to try. Thank you very much. See you again. Okay.
Our projector needs replaced and it's been ordered, so it's not anything that they prepared for this evening. I think that in some way it wasn't dark enough, it's because of the projector, so hopefully by next month it will be replaced.
All right, also on your agenda for next week for your approval is LES contract modifications as listed. Grable Plumbing, Westmoreland Electric, Nello Construction, another one for Westmoreland, another one for Nello. So that will be on the agenda for next week. Also, there'll be a request permission to advertise for bids for the 1812 Lincoln Avenue site, work site, as developed by Midall Division, 1117 Sagemore, Pittsburgh, PA. That's the parcel right beside the administration building. Also on the agenda for your approval will be implementation of district-wide unified communication systems. That is the phone system. Correct?
Yes.
And Facilities Operation Planning Committee meeting minutes from Thursday, August 9th are attached. The next meeting will be Thursday, September 6th, 3:30 p.m. at the admin building. Student activities, recreation, Mrs. Baines.
On your agenda for next week will be a resolution to approve the Greater Latrobe Youth Football Board of Directors, and they are listed on the attachment. We also will award bids for winter sports equipment, so that will be an agenda item. And information, Steeler Night held on August 3rd, 2018. the review will take place next week at our August 21st meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mings. Community Relations, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Latrobe GLSD Parks and Recreation Commission meetings are attached to the date of May 17th. Latrobe GLSD Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes of June 21st are also attached. And the next meeting is August 16th, 4:30 at the Latrobe Municipal Building in the green room. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Mings.
Yes. The intermediate unit, like us, did not meet in July. Our next WIU committee meeting will be Tuesday, August the 28th at 7 p.m. in the WIU boardroom.
Thank you, Mrs. Mings. EWCTC Joint Operating Committee, Mr. Music.
Thank you. Attached to the board's agenda are the WCTC Joint Operating Committee meeting minutes from June 27th and July 24th. And the next EWCTC Joint Operating Committee meeting will be tomorrow, Wednesday, August 15th, and that will be at 7 o'clock at the EWCTC building.
Thank you, Mr. Music. Board Policy Liaison, Mrs. Mings.
Yes, we have a policy committee meeting on September 6th at 1 p.m. in the administration office. Anyone wishes to attend.
Thank you. Mr. Music, Transportation.
Thank you. There are several different items on the board agenda for next week. The first one is the 2018-2019 school bus van drivers approval, and that is from the AJ Lunch Company and DMJ Transportation. Another agenda item would be to approve the pupil transportation schedule for the 2018-19 school year. And there are several individual transportation contracts to be approved, and they are listed on board.
Thank you, Mr. Music. Technology, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last technology meeting minutes from June 19th are attached, and our next meeting is on October 16th here at the 6 o'clock at COC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Superintendent's recommendations.
And as Mr. Hauser mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, because our school year begins on Monday, August 20th, and our next board meeting is August 21st, we have asked the board to move on some resolutions under personnel because they will begin, obviously, school on Monday. So I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 1, which are the list of resignations, and I would note that we are adding the name of Mark Donaway as a custodian, effective date August 15th of 2018, to that list of resignations.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Did Mr. Barta vote?
We did.
Yes, you vote.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 2, which is the approval of the support personnel classified appointments that are listed. And I would note that we are removing Stephen Zakhandy as a custodian recommendation at this time. So please, if you're in the public, I know it was taken off of the electronic agenda, but please remove that name from the agenda for approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I ask the board to move on resolution number 3, which is the approval of support personnel classified appointments. These are our personal care assistants that work throughout the district.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 4, which is the approval of the professional personnel substitute teachers. As noted, this is our initial list of substitute teachers for the district. It is quite lengthy. And then we add to this list on a monthly basis. So these people may be repetitive, but they are approved on an annual basis.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 5, which is the approval of the support personnel appointment supplemental. These are volunteer coaches for our soccer program and football program.
So moved.
Put a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And as noted, earlier in the meeting, I'd ask that the board approve resolution number 6, which is the approval of the school safety and security coordinator by the name of Mr. Michael Poremka, who is our director of teaching and learning.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 7, which is the approval of our school police for the 2018-19 school year, as noted.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 8, which is the approval of Joseph McCombie as an additional on-the-road driver education instructor for the 2018-19 school year.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 9, which is the approval of a sabbatical leave for the 18-19 school year for medical reasons for Wendy Jones, an elementary teacher in the district.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I ask the board to move on resolution number 10, which is the approval of the St. Vincent College Graduate Fellows for the 18-19 school year.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 11, which is the approval of the AmeriCorps personnel listed.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 12, which is the granting of tenure to 3 GLEA members, Shannon Grusky, Leah Stass, and Ann Seedig. They have met the requirements of the state of Pennsylvania to be granted tenure.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 13, which is the approval of a salary calculation correction. The salary calculation correction is for Catherine Richards, band front coordinator. There was a miscalculation in the years of service in the position.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 14, which is the approval of the professional substitute rates for the 18-19 school year. I will note that there has been no change in these substitute rates since the 17-18 school year.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
There are some noted events coming up in the district that are always listed for your review. Just like to note the last one, the St. Vincent College Prevention Project's 40th Anniversary Program and Luncheon. You have at your seat an invitation. If you are interested in attending, this luncheon is being held on September 11th at 11 a.m. at the Rogers Conference Center. We have participated in the St. Vincent College Prevention Projects for a long time. I'm not sure if we were original member. Dr. Zorch actually serves on the board of directors of the prevention projects. If you're interested in attending, we are hoping to get some people there to help celebrate this event. It really is a service to the school district. We have been part of this, as I mentioned, for a very long time. So if you are interested, you have that at your seat. The other invitation you have at your seat is a gala that came for every school board member. Please review, and if you're interested in attending, certainly you can speak to Mrs. Allshouse, or I think you can return it yourself as well. In addition, I'd like to announce that we would like to have a board retreat on September 10th. It's a Monday at 5:30 p.m. For personnel concerns. So if you could mark that down, and we will have that on the agenda for next week. That's September 10th. It's a Monday prior to a board meeting, board retreat here at the CSC at 5:30. Our meetings, we have a meeting next Tuesday. We will be approving any additional personnel that we might have. We may do something retroactive to the 20th if we have to. And then our meetings in September are Tuesday the 11th and Tuesday, September 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughter. At this time, before we adjourn, I would like to make a statement as president of the Greater Latrobe Board of Education. I would like to address you regarding the school district and school board's mission. The mission of this school district is as follows. Greater Latrobe School District shall prepare students to become lifelong learners, responsible, productive citizens. In addition, I would like to make a reference to the school board policy number 11, which is entitled Principles for Governance and Leadership under Local Board Procedures. The first part of this statement is directed to the students and parents of this school district. The second part to the entire community. As you grow mature and young adults, your parents teach you the sound rules of principles of ethical behavior, which they expect you to live by. These rules are simply the accepted rules and standards of our community. They are referenced in policy number 11 for our school board members as well. As a school district, we have tried to be a partner with your parents and guardians in setting an example for you by behaving in an ethical manner. As a board, we have always tried to show respect for each other personally as well as our fellow board members. Along with that, we have always respected each other's ideas and opinions. In the past, we have had robust debate among ourselves, but we have always done in a thoughtful way, keeping an open mind towards the ideas of our fellow board members. Through this process, we have often achieved consensus, but when we have failed to do so, we have always respected the different opinions held by our fellow board members. We have always tried to be a 9-member team working to direct and support our administrators, teachers, and valued support staff, all for the best education for our children in our community. Unfortunately, in today's society, there are many different venues, including both traditional media and more dramatically social media, each of which provide children and adults the means of opportunity to act in most unethical ways, whether it be by bullying, harassment, or spreading misleading rumors and lies about others. Because of this, the school district's mission and responsibilities are all that more important. When you as students are faced with these types of behaviors, we encourage you to seek the advice and help of our parents, teachers, and administrators. Let us know about the problem so we can help to correct it. Sadly, the behaviors I have described do not only happen to students. They also affect adults. Regardless of age, one thing is certain. When we are wronged by these types of behavior, we must maintain our character and ethical principles. We must never allow the inappropriate actions of others to cause us to abandon our own principles, the most valuable thing in the world that a person has in his or her is good character. For generations, the Greater Latrobe School Board has lived up to these principles, but recently they have been put to the test. Premature and misleading statements about board members, administrators, and the true mission of the school district have recently been made. In some instances, these statements border on outright lies. These reckless statements in violation of confidentiality have actually compromised the strategic and the legal position of this school district in very important matters relating to the overall school community. Worse, innuendos and false statements about board members and administrators threaten to unfairly harm their reputation. This behavior is wrong. It harms the mission of the school district and in the end hurts our students. And for what? Board members on the Greater Latrobe School Board have given selflessly of their own time and their individual skill sets. They have led this school district to be recognized as one of the most respected learning institutions in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and certainly in Westmoreland County. People choose to live in our area because of our school district. And for those who do not know, let me be very clear. There is no compensation for these board members at all. I would like to strongly reassure administrators, teachers, maintenance, custodial, food service, secretarial, support staff, and most of all, our students and families, that the hard work and right-thinking members on this board will continue to provide support guidance to achieve our mission while maintaining the integrity for which this board has always been known. We look forward to the years to come to provide the education that our students need and deserve to move forward in their ever-changing society, and we will continue to do it in the most fiscally responsible way possible. This is our pledge. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to move for adjournment. We have a motion on the floor and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?